car that Angela was still sitting in, and she tried to drive away, get away, kind of back out a long driveway.
I knew what was up. You know, she got what she wanted. That, you know, she figured Toddy had been sending me real estate brochures.
Basically shot him right point blank in the eye, and he was dead pretty instantaneously.
Yeah, you know, because she'd make that much in a minute out here.
I mixed up a dose of speed, a really strong one, and I injected that.
Early life. In the quiet, dusty corners of a small, forgotten town, Earl's story unfolded against a backdrop of hardship and turmoil that etched its mark on his very soul. His life was a tapestry woven with threads of pain and resilience, darkness and flickers of light that refused to be extinguished. From his earliest memories, Earl's existence was shadowed by the heavy hand of his father, a man whose own demons danced recklessly on his shoulders. The scars of physical attack bore witness to a childhood marred by violence, a sinister symphony of fists and tears that echoed in the recesses of his memory. But amidst the chaos, a strange dichotomy took root. Earl's father, the harbinger of pain, also sowed the seeds of a twisted kinship, urging his son to embrace confrontation and conflict, to bare his teeth when the world growled.
So that morning you got drunk. What were you thinking? Why'd you sell drugs?
Money is really good. I don't know, I woke up and there was that bottle of booze by the bed, and I just started drinking it. And
A long time afterward. It wasn't a sexual relationship, just a couple times, and that was just because we happened to be there.
you know, it's like you got rock stars and politicians and televangelists. Well,
Earl's path took a darker turn as he stumbled into the jagged embrace of addiction. The allure of escape whispered sweet promises in his ear, and he succumbed at a tender age to the siren song of illegal drugs and intoxication. The nights grew long, and the days bled into hazy oblivion as Earl sought solace in substances that blurred the edges of his reality. His footsteps were marked by clandestine rendezvous with danger, a dance with demons that stole fragments of his innocence with every passing day. Nancy Young, a woman whose life bore its own burdens, saw beyond the scars and shadows that clung to Earl's skin. A delicate thread of compassion wove their lives together, and Earl, in a role he had never anticipated, became a father figure to Nancy's children. The courtroom of their testimony resounded with echoes of a man who, despite his own tribulations, painted moments of tenderness and care on the canvas of young lives desperate for guidance. Earl was a man of paradoxes, a walking contradiction. A hard worker, his hands were calloused by the rhythm of sweat and labor, but even the simplest tasks demanded a watchful eye, a reminder of the fractured focus that his demons had stolen. It was as if his determination waged a relentless battle against the inner tempest that threatened to engulf him.
I ran into her husband in a grocery store. I guess I was 21, so he came over and he brought Toddy with him. That's his wife, and that's how we met.
Sense of remorse or grief when he talks about the fact that he killed her.
When I bought the place, I bought it from them, the previous owners.
The incident. On December 9, 2002, a series of events unfolded involving Earl Forrest, his then-girlfriend Angelia Gamblin, Harriet Smith, and Michael Wells. The incident took place while Forrest was under the influence of alcohol. Forrest had arranged to meet Harriet Smith, allegedly to introduce her to a source of methamphetamine. In exchange for his assistance, there was an agreement that Harriet would provide Forrest with a lawnmower and a mobile home. Angelia Gamblin, Forrest's girlfriend, accompanied him to Harriet Smith's residence, but remained in the car. Once Forrest entered Harriet's home, he encountered Michael Wells, who was a friend of Harriet. Following the initial shooting, Harriet Smith attempted to escape from the scene using Angelia's car. During her attempt to drive away, Harriet's car hit a tree branch, causing it to become stuck. Subsequently, Forrest brought Harriet back into the house. Inside the residence, Forrest shot Harriet a total of 6 times, resulting in her demise. The incident appears to involve a complex web of agreements, confrontations, and violent actions. The motivations behind the events, as well as the relationships between the individuals involved, likely played a significant role in the tragedy that unfolded on that day.
I'd get out, couldn't do parole, get busted, go back, you know.
I thought she rolled her eyes like, oh yeah, okay, whatever, you know, and I think that pissed me off.
She wanted me to hook her up with some, you know.
After the initial tragic events involving Earl Forrest, Angelia Gamblin, Harriet Smith, and Michael Wells, the situation took an even more dire turn. Following the altercation that led to the passing away of Harriet Smith and Michael Wells, Forrest reportedly took a lockbox containing methamphetamine valued at around $25,000 and fled the scene along with his girlfriend, Angelia. Law enforcement officers, including Sheriff Bob Wofford and Deputy Sharon Joanne Barnes, became involved in the investigation of the shooting incident. They went to speak with Forrest, likely to gather information and potentially apprehend him. However, when confronted by the officers, Forrest opened fire on them. Tragically, Deputy Barnes was slayed in the gunfire and Sheriff Wofford was injured. Following the tragic events involving Earl Forrest, his convictions and his sentence for the slaying of Michael Wells, Harriet Smith, and Deputy Sharon Joanne Barnes, a new development emerged that linked Forrest to an additional crime. Specifically, he was connected to the 1995 slaying of Lori Beth Steffen in California. Lori Steffen, 39 years old at the time, was last seen heading towards Forrest's residence before her disappearance. Subsequent investigation and evidence gathering led to Forrest being implicated in the slaying of Lori Beth Steffen. Law enforcement officers visited Forrest while he was in prison in Missouri. During their visit, Forrest reportedly confessed to his involvement in the 1995 slaying, providing details and information that indicated his culpability in the crime. However, despite his confession, Forrest never stood trial for the 1995 slaying. It's possible that the legal proceedings related to his convictions for the other slayings and the sentence he received took precedence. The decision not to pursue a trial for the additional slaying could have been influenced by a variety of factors, including the availability of evidence, the complexity of legal proceedings, and the practical considerations surrounding multiple trials for a single individual.
So she come back, she made, you make a lot of money at $4,000 a pound. A couple hours later, this girl came over and I said, let's take a ride, and we went over there. And
starting to light up a cigarette, and Earl walked in and basically shot him right point blank.
More, she was making stupid money, and
in the eye, and he was dead pretty instantaneously.
Putting down. On a fateful Wednesday evening, May 11, 2016, the state of Missouri carried out the ending of Earl Mitchell Forrest, marking the culmination of a legal process that spanned over a decade. At 7:18 p.m. local time, within the stark confines of the chamber nestled within the Eastern Reception, Diagnostic, and Correction Center in Bonne Terre, Missouri, Earl Mitchell Forrest drew his last breath.
She looked at me funny, I guess. I just kind of stood there for a while.
you buy me a nice riding lawnmower, because I had a big lawn and the pasture.
I mixed up a dose of speed, a really strong one, and I injected that.
Yeah, because she'd make that much in a minute out here. Well, I did this for you and this for you. I've done.
His ending brought an end to a life that had become synonymous with the tragic events of December 9, 2002, which saw the loss of 3 innocent lives in Salem, Missouri. Earl Mitchell Forrest, aged 66 at the time of his ending, had spent a staggering 13 years on Missouri's row. The heinous crimes that sealed his fate had left a scar on the community and had triggered a legal journey that navigated through the intricate web of the criminal justice system. The slayings of Michael Wells, Harriet Smith, and Deputy Sharon Joanne Barnes on that ill-fated December day formed the heart of the prosecution's case against Earl Mitchell Forrest. As the evidence and testimonies unfolded during the trial, the chilling details of the events sent shockwaves through the courtroom. The collective grief and outrage of the victims' families, as well as the wider community, added a layer of complexity to the already somber proceedings. Earl Forrest's ending on May 11, 2016, marked a significant statistic in the context of capital punishment in the U.S. As the 1,436th person to be executed since the reinstatement of the capital punishment in 1976. Within the confines of Missouri, Earl Forrest became the 87th person to face his ending, thereby adding another chapter to the state's history with the capital punishment.
He desired to be any part of this stuff. I think at that point she was kind of shell-shocked, and she was in way over her head.
About helping to spread it?
No, man, you guys got this crap out here. They call meth, but it's...
Car that Angela was still sitting in, and she tried to drive away, get away, kind of back out a long driveway.
Or strips of batteries and just all kinds of weird shit in it. It's nothing like meth.
Last meal. In the hours leading up to Earl Forrest's ending on May 11, 2016, his last meal revealed a glimpse into the human aspect of the impending event. As is customary for many row inmates, Forrest was granted the opportunity to request a final meal before facing his ultimate fate. His choice of a meal highlighted a mix of comfort, indulgence, and perhaps a touch of nostalgia. Forrest's selection comprised a variety of elements that could be interpreted as attempts to savor the sensory pleasures of life one last time.
I hooked her up with a guy, and that was the last I heard of her. I knew what was up. You know, she got what she wanted. And that, you know, she figured she.
You know, we'd go over and shoot pool together.
Why'd you shoot him?
I don't know.
I saw her roll her eyes, you know, at Mike, like, oh man, that's crazy.
The inclusion of steak, a classic symbol of indulgence and a hearty source of protein, suggests a desire for a substantial and satisfying meal. Accompanied by pasta, another comfort food, the meal seemed to embrace the familiarity of flavors that might have provided a sense of solace in the face of impending mortality. The fruit plate, featuring sliced tomatoes and cucumbers, introduced a refreshing contrast to the richness of the main dishes. The inclusion of fresh produce could be seen as a nod to healthfulness and a nod to the simple joys of nature's offerings. Such choices might reflect a desire to experience a range of flavors and textures before bidding farewell to the world. The presence of chocolate cake, a dessert known for its universal appeal, likely carried emotional weight. Desserts often evoke feelings of nostalgia and pleasure, and in this context, the cake could have served as a symbolic connection to memories of comfort and happiness. Similarly, the choice of milk as a beverage could be seen as a reminder of childhood and innocence, further underscoring the humanity of the moment. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.